I also watched the brand new TV series from Aunty Donna. It's called Aunty Donna's Coffee Cafe. Aunty Donna, of course, an Australian sketch comedy trio that I have actually followed for many, many years since I was at uni. I really love them. And I wanted to talk a bit about Aunty Donna and why I think they were so groundbreaking in online content, reaching the masses and becoming such a force to be reckoned with in the Australian comedy landscape. So much success from them. And I remember genuinely being at uni and my friend from school showing me one of their videos on YouTube, and it was just like one of the wackiest, weirdest sketches I'd ever seen, and I just thought it was incredible. And I just remember seeing these three guys and being like, this is so weird, who are these guys? It was very much like they had pretty much just started. Like they had just started doing what they were doing. And if you haven't seen them before, very absurdist, very just absurd, wacky, nonsense sketches that often have like an unexpected twist in them. Three guys, like fantastic stuff. Broden Kelly has actually been on this podcast before on Mike Talks, and you can go and listen to that. He was great. And I remember at the time being like thinking it was pretty underground still when we first discovered them, and that it was all low budget, all shot, it looked like it had just been self-shot, like no resources other than themselves. And watching that from, say, maybe 2013, 2014 to now, so 10 years of a career, and just where they are at now is phenomenal. But I think it's so interesting to think about how and why were they able to get so big? Obviously, they're extremely talented performers, writers, comedians, etc. But what was it that was going on at the time in the landscape of that time period, I suppose, that allowed Aunty Donna to get so big? And I think it's like, it was sort of at this point in Australia where we didn't really have like streaming services yet, but free to air was like notoriously shit. And people had been like torrenting and pirating stuff for a really long time. So there wasn't a lot of, at that point in time, 2010 to 2014, it was all like piracy. No one in my age group really watched heaps of free-to-air TV or any real Australian content from memory. Like maybe there were bits of it, but there wasn't anything massive. And then I also thought, at least for me, it was maybe one of the first times I had seen like an Australian group on YouTube, and they just kept putting videos up, and it just became fun to start binging their videos. And I think because there maybe was that gap of like super funny Australian content that was relatively like safe and I guess, like, for lack of a better word, politically correct. Like, it was like safe and marketable and fun for everyone. Like, obviously there's like a certain type of person who gravitates to Aunty Donna, and I guess they aren't for everyone. I'm sure there are people who are like, oh, it's too wacky and silly for me. But it was like, after like my generation had like finished high school, we had all been like exposed to online culture for our whole lives. And then suddenly there was this group of really funny guys doing stuff on YouTube. And there had been people doing stuff on YouTube before them. Like, I remember Shooter Williamson used to do sketches on YouTube, and people used to share them around, and like Neil Kolhatkar and people like that. But then, I don't know what, I think Aunty Donna just came at this moment that everyone was like, maybe it felt like there hadn't been a fresh sort of Australian comedy take for a while. And I remember like 2007, Chris Lilly did Summer Heights High, and I feel like it was super groundbreaking in Australian culture because it was just holding a mirror up to Australia, and it was like really funny, really well written. It permeated the entire culture, and then maybe there wasn't something like that for a long time, and then Aunty Donna kind of, and free-to-air TV maybe was never going to craft that again. And then Aunty Donna just kind of started doing it themselves and naturally snowballing this massive audience through these sketches, doing live shows. Like, I remember going to one of their live shows in 2014 maybe. It was quite a small venue comparatively to like the last one I went to was at Hamer Hall. And just watching it each year grow bigger and bigger, and this, like, particularly a lot of like hipstery people seem to really like Aunty Donna, which I think is great. But I think it was just this complete, wacky, at the time not mainstream alternative to that old school style comedy. It wasn't like, it was purposely goofy. It wasn't trying to be like groundbreaking. Maybe that's the thing. It wasn't trying to be groundbreaking, and it wasn't taking itself seriously. Like, it was just like, we're just doing this goofy nonsense. And that's how I'd describe it. And then they started actually like doing more formal YouTube series, like the 1999 series. They did an album with music videos. They did the elementary school series, and they did a live show touring of that. All of that content is gold and just amazing. And then what I found so interesting about it was it seemed like this was maybe one of the biggest comedy acts in Australia of the 2010s, right? They were getting bigger and bigger, snowballing and snowballing. They had a podcast with a huge listenership. They had a community of people that loved their stuff, right? Of which I was a part of, going to all their live shows, wanting to see them on stage. And I still maintain, to me, their live on stage stuff has always been their absolute best. Like, I think they are at their best, highest energy live. Love all their stuff. I love their podcast. It's all great, but their live stuff is just a moment like that you have to be part of, and it's so crazy. And then no, it didn't seem like anyone in Australia was like willing to give them a mainstream shot or a mainstream show. They were always sort of underground, starting to get like, they were huge at the comedy festival. That's mainly where you'd see them on TV. And then suddenly, Netflix gave them a TV show. Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun. They go do 6 episodes of a show with Netflix. And I think a lot of the idea behind that show was sort of Americanizing or globalizing some of the Aussie sketches into more US-friendly sketches to try and get more of a US audience and to widen their audience around the world so they could tour USA and make a lot of money there. And I think that was really smart. But even still, I was like, why is it Netflix in America that's making this show happen? Why is no one making it happen here in Australia? And then finally, they've now put out their series Aunty Donna's Coffee Cafe with the ABC, co-produced with like Screen Victoria, which is great. Really liked it. Sitcom, sketch kind of blend. One of my favourite moments happened, and this is classic Aunty Donna, just these goofy, wacky sketches that almost have like just this peppered irony in them. This is one of my favourite moments.
Well, one of us has a vibrator in our bottoms. Oh, which one of us could it be?
Just like songs that they've done over the years like that. One of us has a vibrator. I love that. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great show. I really enjoyed it. And like, you know, luckily just through my work with Listener and SCA, where Aunty Donna's podcast is currently produced, like I've gotten to meet Broden a fair few times, and I've interacted with Mark and Zach a bit because I worked on Willosophy for a while, and I think Mark came on Willosophy and we interacted a bit. I'd love to chat to the three of them, and I've been to some of Zach's movie nights. Huge fan. Love their work, and I just think that they're such a fascinating case study of something so underground that just broke through and is now one of the biggest acts in Australia.